And welcome to Flat Earth United Kingdom. Joining me this evening is Barbi McGill. How are you doing first and foremost, Barbi?
Good. Hey.
Well worth the fiddling with the mute button. And how are you doing, Patricia?
I'm doing great. I'll just make up for enthusiasm there.
Woo! So we're rocking. We're actually functioning, working, no hiccups, no technical issues. Everything's working perfectly. Both guests, all microphones. Happy days. I'm elated. Maybe we can start off with a proper flat Earth related question aimed straight at Barbi. So Barbi, can you tell the audience how you found out Earth is flat?
Well, when I was a kid, someone told me some interesting stuff about like the moon landings. So I kind of grew up that way, being a doubter. Then in the 90s, my brother and I actually kind of talked about the flatness because he wanted to go on this desert caravan thing. But what really sent it home for me is when I went on a cruise and I was out in the middle of the ocean going to Mexico, and we passed all the oil tankers, things in the water, and you could see them for miles and miles and miles. And there were these people from Canada talking about flat Earth on the ship. And I was like, So then I got to looking, and of course, I ran across Math Powerland and then other people, and I was like, wow, I'm not alone. So that kind of did it, if that makes sense.
So was it kind of like you were semi-aware of it before you came across Math Powerland's videos, and then that cemented it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've always been to question stuff. It's gotten me in a lot of trouble in my life, but just knowing there were other people out there that felt that way, that weren't sure, because I don't know what it is. I just know what it isn't. And I wasn't sure. You know, when you're not sure, it's a scary feeling until you realize there's other people out there that feel the same way. So when I saw his videos, I was like, okay, maybe I can, you know, talk about this. Because I was making videos before that, but I wasn't talking about it.
Maybe tell us, what were you making videos about prior to Flat Earth?
Just all kinds of stuff, like just stuff in the news and some different health stuff. I wouldn't really say conspiracy stuff. I would just say obvious things that were happening that didn't feel right. I was really nervous to like talk about flat Earth because you don't know how people are going to take it. You don't know what they're going to think about you. And then I just got to the point where it's like, I don't care, because there's other people talking about it. So, yeah.
It's weird because you've kind of got a similar story to me in as much as you've seen things and they've presumably been put to the back of your mind, and then you come across somebody actually saying the words flat Earth, and you remember maybe the trip to Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that and knowing what I was told as a child. And I have run across some people that kind of say the same thing, that they kind of grew up that way. I don't like to base my decisions on NASA, but as a child, I was a doubter of the moon landings. So that kind of helped. They go into questioning where they live, and it's like this mind-blowing thing. For me, it was really easy because I'd always had that doubt there. But I don't base all of my thoughts on NASA alone. It's many, many things that make me feel this way. So
But yeah, that must have made things easier if you were already doubting NASA. Was that something that you vocalized before Flat Earth? Would you discuss that in public, that you didn't think the moon landings happened?
I really don't feel comfortable with it, but somebody that I trusted told me that it couldn't have happened. And that was enough for me. Yeah, that's as much as I want to say about that.
No, it's fair enough. I mean, it's one where I get quite frustrated recently because there's people out there will talk about discoveries that are NASA-based discoveries, things like the Van Allen belt. And frankly, I think you could chuck the whole lot out. You know, you can't take their word for it about what's up there at all. Yet people say, how have you got past the Van Allen belts? It's like, well, how do you know that they haven't just made them up? You know, it could just be part of the same nonsense. So to use one part of the page to say, look, it can't make sense because of, look, this top paragraph, and then scroll down and go, look, but at the 13th paragraph, something that confirms what we believe from NASA.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've kind of proven that they can't be trusted. I say this a lot to people. When there's one lie there, then there's got to be more. And that's an issue for me. It's an issue for me that it's like this privileged group that get to know what it looks like. You know, I haven't seen it with my eyes, not from that perspective. So, you know, until we can really do that, how can we believe what they're saying? We're just, you know, following what we're being told. And that's a problem for me. I think everybody should be able to see. And that's what I liked about Math Powerland, was he brought that out, you know, and saying, and if they lied, would they even tell you? It made me feel more comfortable in the way I felt about him and what I was thinking. So it was helpful.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was the same for me, Math Powerland. You know, he pretty much, I can't remember the video, which is terrible because you just end up gorging on flat Earth material. But I remember him saying the words flat Earth and having that moment of shock, you know, the cold shiver, and you go, oh my God, because it all flashes before your eyes.
Yeah, I was like, no, he didn't just say that, you know? Wow. But then you're like, yeah, he did. And that's awesome. And then you see more and more people willing to put themselves out there and say, this is what I think. You know, I think the world is not what we've been told. And that's not an easy thing to do. People seem to think it's so easy, but it's not. It's not. It's kind of like this uncomfortable feeling, you know, because you're wondering, are you being judged? Until you're comfortable enough with it. I'm at that point where I'm like, I'm beyond what people are worried I'm thinking or what I am. But I think when people come into it and they're questioning things, that's one of the things that probably holds them back, you know. I could be wrong, but I'm kind of thinking I'm right.
Well, partially one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with yourself and Patricia is because you both have a unique angle on people who have got no idea about anything conspiratorial, which some people might phrase the death care system, other people might relate it to health, whatever you want, a positive or negative spin on it. You've got an interesting angle because there's many people out there, vegans and people who are interested in health or alternative medicine, that may very well come to flat Earth from that angle. Now, it's an angle I know nothing about, and having watched your videos and having heard Patricia talk about this stuff, it is truly fascinating. You know, I've come to it from flat Earth and see immediate potential for people to come in the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how Patricia feels about this. I only speak for myself, but I feel like all of these things are tied in to where you live. You know, the healthcare system, the food you eat, the chemtrails, everything. It's all a part of one big ball of messy wax. So I try to look into all I can, but there's so much, it's almost impossible. The health part of it I fell into for personal reasons, but it does kind of help open your mind to more things and be aware of things in your world.
It must be pretty terrifying, because most people have got in the back of their mind that they can fall back on the healthcare structure that's in place if they fall ill, whereas presumably you didn't at all.
Well, I want to be clear. I don't want people to think, oh, don't go to your doctor, this, that, and the other. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, I'm saying go to your doctor if you've got health issues, find out what's going on. But at the same time, look for other avenues, because there are avenues out there, good ones, ones that are, I think, tested, and there's information to back those things. You definitely have to be careful. But if you're lucky, you may be able to find a doctor who's kind of able to walk you through those things. That in itself is really, really difficult. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the United States, it's illegal for a doctor to diagnose you with something and then say, well, if you take vitamin D, that'll cure you. They can't do that. They have to put you on script. They can't really give you like a natural remedy for what's wrong with you. Now, there are some that will say, well, I recommend you start taking this or start taking that, but they can't correlate that wrong with you. There's doctors on trial for it right now, sitting in jail, some of them, for these very things. So it's a touchy little area. Again, though, go to the doctor, and find out what's going on if you think something's wrong with you. And then kind of look into things yourself and see if there's something you can do to take personal responsibility and help that situation. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying, look into it, be aware.
So give us some hints then. What should I be aware of as a total novice who knows nothing?
I mean, it depends on what you're dealing with. Let Patricia answer a question like that.
Oh no, you know just as much as I do. But what you were saying everything, and I'm just sitting here nodding like, well, I could just turn this mic off and then listen, because our opinions really on most issues are pretty much the same thing. Vitamin D. If a person who's not vegan, just anybody who's interested, goes and gets blood tests at the doctor and asks for a vitamin D test, you'll get the test when you get your blood run. And if you come back with low vitamin D, what they will write you is like you said, a prescription. And that will be for tablets, which are not only not really natural, they're made from animal products. They won't even consider saying, oh, maybe you should get some more sunshine. Or if you're not really that good with bright sunshine all the time, my skin's pretty pale, so I'm not a sun worshiper, although I love the sun, but I can't be in it too much or I'll, get a sunstroke. They'll never say there's vegan vitamin D out there made from mushrooms. They'll never tell you that. In fact, I had low vitamin D. I wasn't suffering any symptoms, but I had a regular blood test. And like you were saying, Barbie, go to your doctor. I go occasionally and get like a full gamut of blood tests run, and then just look at my numbers and compare them to like 2 years ago and just see how I am with B12 since I'm vegan, and iron, and look at my D levels. Anyway, he was saying your D levels are kind of low. And I'm like, oh, all right. Well, it was winter and I wasn't having any seasonal affective disorder, or I wasn't tired. I didn't have aches and pains. There were no symptoms per se. And he said, well, let me write you a prescription for D. And I kind of knew what he was doing. And I said, well, no, I can go buy online through Amazon or whatever, vitamin D made from mushrooms. What they do is they get these organic mushrooms and they turn them so the underside of the cap is facing toward the sun, and the sunshine. You can do it yourself with mushrooms. Put them on your windowsill. Even after they're picked, the mushroom caps will absorb the good stuff from the sun and then you eat them. Well, there's companies that actually pulverize them and put them into a pill form. You take those and your D level skyrockets. He was saying, no, if you take something weird like that, you're going to probably just get sick. Your vitamin D will go very low and you should be eating dairy products fortified with vitamin D. And, I'm listening, and I've tried with this particular doctor to tell him before about, well, everything you're saying may not actually be true. And, he doesn't have, as we all know, very much education in nutrition and health. None of these doctors do. They have a lot of education in how to take a pen and a pad and write a prescription, but that's because they get kickbacks in some cases from the drug industry. So he was saying, no, you need to take this prescription. So I kind of didn't want to fight anymore, and I took the piece of paper, threw it away when I got outside, and then went and got my vitamin D. Oops, sorry. I don't know. I thought I turned my Skype off. Sorry. I was on my phone. Very much a schoolboy error there for me. Sorry, Nathan. And I went and got the vegan D from Amazon and took the dosage that I said to take. Went back for the follow-up because he wanted to follow up and probably get more money from me and, see how his prescription D was doing. And he got the blood test back, phoned me and said, your D levels are fantastic. And I said, yeah, that's because I was taking the vegan vitamin D. Now, during the warmer parts of the year, you can go out and get the sun, but they're not telling you that. They're just writing prescriptions. So you're totally right, Barbie. They don't care about us. They care about making money. And I know a lot of doctors, they go to school, and many of them, but not all, their reason for wanting to be a doctor is because they want to help people. Some want to be a doctor because you can make good money, or a parent was a doctor or something. But there are people who care. But once they get involved in that system and the pharmaceutical reps come into their office, usually very attractive young women, they get caught up in the system where they're getting kickbacks, where they're getting new golf clubs, where they're getting sent to vacation resorts. And it will turn their head. They will not look into alternative therapies. And doctors who try to buck the system, in some cases, even wind up dead. Mysterious circumstances, like shooting themselves through suicide 12 times in the stomach. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but those are the stories which we read.
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, like you say, most doctors are not educated in nutrition. Now, I got lucky and got a doctor who was a scientist first. And the way he kind of worked around the system was by saying, well, I think this would be good. And like you said, he would actually write a prescription for vitamin D or magnesium or things of this nature, knowing that I was the type person that I'm just going to go out and buy it for myself, or you know what I mean? But it's really a difficult area for them because they can lose their careers over it. And again, doctors have their place. I'm certainly not saying don't go to a doctor. I got to say that like 100 times because I don't want people to feel like I'm encouraging, people to take disease into their own hands. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be responsible enough to look into things. What I realized by being sick was I had done all these things. I was not getting better. I was not feeling better. And I'm sitting here thinking, what haven't I done? What haven't I changed? And it finally occurred to me, and I can't believe it took me so long to realize the only thing I hadn't changed was what I was eating. And it was so simple. It was like, wow, and I can't claim what it'll do for other people. I can only say what it's done for me, but I believe that it can do the same for other people. And I think, if you're going to go on a vegetarian or vegan diet, each person's body is going to react differently. Each person's body is going to need different things. So maybe there's not one strict plan for everybody. I'm not sure. That's kind of where I'm at with it, but difficult to do. You could start by maybe having one vegan day a week, or something like that and see what you need, because we all have different needs. That's my feeling about it. But I think it's helpful because there's a lot of different foods you can use for anti-inflammatory purposes. Just there's all kinds of stuff you can do there. But again, it's a personal choice for people. I try not to push it on people.
What it's done for you. What has it done for you?
Well, I mean, I can't swear by it, but I think I'm probably still here because of it. Because I was willing to change some of the things I was doing. I had a pretty scary little bout a few years back, and I wasn't sure, how long I was going to be around. And that's the only thing I really did differently, which changed what I was eating. I did have a surgery, so I want people to be aware of that because of this illness. But that was as far as it went. It didn't go into any treatments or anything of that nature. And I'm doing okay, Again, I can't make this claim for everybody, but I just feel like we were put here and that what we need is here. It's in the world with us. And whether or not we're aware of how to use that in the proper way is a totally different story. But I'm a believer in that. I think it's all here with us. I don't think it needs to be created, in other words. That's just my opinion. And there's probably medicines out there that are necessary for people. I'm not saying they're not. What I'm saying is maybe in the natural world, they haven't found a way to utilize something naturally for the same conditions. I don't know. That's just where I'm at with it.
I mean, if nothing else,
but yeah,
we've mentioned seasonal affective disorder or SAD, and if nothing else, if people just take away that during dark times you need to get out in the sunshine, you need to go outside and take in some sun because there's less of it. That's something that is so simple. Would cheer people up. I mean, I'm quite happy because I get out, I go for a walk with our kids, and I'm a cheery person, but I see lots of miserable folk. And I think it's because they are affected by the season. They are genuinely down in the dumps and miserable. And you can imagine the process of them going to the doctor and telling them their symptoms. And the doctor not necessarily saying you need a bit more sunshine, but saying you're depressed.
You need an antidepressant. Yeah. I mean, if you look at animals, I've got dogs. I open my door during the day, every day, like clockwork, they're going to find that little piece of sunshine and lay in it. I mean, they're smart enough to understand their body and minds need that. Yet sometimes we as people, we're given this big area of choice and we choose not to be that smart. But animals know. I mean, I don't know.
Animals have a regular sleep schedule. I have cats, so cats sleep most of their life, but forget about cats. They have a sleep schedule in which they oftentimes, most animals anyway, they'll sleep at night and they'll be active during the day. Now, cats are nocturnal in some cases, other animals too. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about animals where the sunshine is, they're awake. They're like birds, for example. They naturally gravitate, like you were saying, toward the patch of sun on the floor of your place. They want to be warmed by the sun, not just because it feels good, but I think something is in their body that tells them that they need to chase the sun. They need to pursue it. And the sun gives you a feeling of happiness and joy. And, like Nathan was saying, just going outside and taking a little walk, like, with Nathan and Eleanor and Paula going outside, or with your children or with your pets, whatever it is, by yourself, taking a walk and looking around at the beauty around us, no matter what kind of neighborhood you live in. There's still beauty. Maybe it's urban beauty, maybe it's mountains, maybe it's lakes, maybe it's a beautiful path with flowers. just looking at that and then realizing you're a part of it. You're a part of this creation. And then you're getting the sunshine at the same time. And I think there's a lot of people in Flat Earth that during the winter months I swear, I think, go with me on this. There might be a lot more infighting during the cold season when the sun is not as readily available. People might be more depressed. Now, we'd have to be involved in the Flat Earth world for several years to do a peer-reviewed survey or study, of that. We don't have time for that. It just seems to me the case that right now we're in a bit of a dark period where there's lots of attacking going on, and it's been going on since November, somewhere around there. And maybe we will see when the birds start singing outside and crocuses are popping up through the snow, that things will lighten up a little bit, and maybe we'll all bond a little bit more before the season of hate comes again. But no, it's true. Get some sun.
I definitely notice it with younger adults or children. So there's a turning point. It happened last year, and I made a video log when it happened. And there's an abrupt change where the sun is suddenly a lot more strong. It seems to be around a lot longer. And it's not when they say it happens. It just happens abruptly. And you'll see kids out with shorts and short sleeve T-shirts. And they just instinctively know. They get up in the morning and they can just sense it. They've not got up and looked at the weather forecast on the TV. They've just got up and probably poked their head out the window and gone, oh, nice day, warm enough for a T-shirt. And everyone else is walking around because the TV's told them it's cold, it's winter, need a coat. And in reality, outside, it's nice and sunny. And the kids are out in T-shirts, and like you say, the dogs and cats are basking in the sun.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was meaning by the animals just having this instinct to know, hey, I got to do it, where we just, and I can't say really what it is about us that causes us to close ourselves off from these instincts that I really do believe we have. A lot of it could be the fluoride. I mean, because the fluoride it's terrible. But more so, it could just be like this programming of just constantly making people believe that they need to trust other areas rather than themselves for the answers. And it kind of turns people into, I don't know, like little zombies.
This is fluoride, so you're talking about the calcification of the pineal gland, is it, that it works on? Is that right?
It does. I mean, that's been really proven. I think there's like 3 countries right now in the world that legally use it still. The United States is one of them. But it goes to the pineal gland in the brain, and it causes it to get calcified. The nice thing about that, though, is that if you stop, fluoride intake, the reversal is 100%. It's not like your heart going bad and you can't get better. This can clear up and get better. But I think it's intentional. I feel that way. Why else use it? It's a pesticide. It's skeeve. Why put it in the water? It makes no sense. And tests have shown that fluoridation makes people more docile. It makes them more compliant. So, in my mind, a lot of people don't believe that. I do. So I would say if the first thing anybody wants to do for their health, get off fluoride. Get a toothpaste that's not got fluoride in it, get bottled water, whatever you got to do. And it's difficult when you live in countries that use it in the water. Sometimes here the chemicals are so strong you can smell them. I think I was telling you, Nathan, when that whole Ebola thing was going on, I filled up my bathtub one day. I looked over and the water was blue. I mean, it was literally blue. And I was like, whoa, you know, I noticed it right away. And I realized that they were treating the water a lot more heavily than ever because of this threat of sickness. And how do we really know what they're putting in it? It's not like you can go knock on the door there at the water treatment facility and say, hey, you mind me coming in for a tour? I want to see what you're putting in the water. It's never going to happen. They're not going to let you do it. Not where I live anyway. So you kind of got to wonder, you know, you got to wonder what's going on there, what's being put in water. And anytime I see anybody like of any status on television or wherever drinking anything, it's out of a bottle. You know, it's not like you're seeing them go fill up some tap water and say, yeah, let's have a chug. But I think fluoride's a problem. And I'm not sure about the other chemicals. You know, they may be problems as well. But we know fluoride is a problem. So
distilling your water, I think, is a really great health tip. You could buy a water distiller pretty easily. I've talked about the one I have as on air a couple of times. I got it from Amazon. Sounds like I work for Amazon. Sorry. It's just a really easy way to purchase items. So everyone seems to use it. If you have the ability to buy one next door, go buy it at a mom and pop shop, of course, but they're not usually like readily available at your big, you know, discount stores, as far as I know. But water distillers cannot remove fluoride. Now, I've heard the opposite from many people, but then I've done some research and found that they don't remove fluoride. Now, I live in a state in the US that does fluoridate the water. So I guess I'm in trouble when it comes to that. But I don't use fluoridated toothpaste and haven't for a very long time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe water distillers do remove fluoride. But even if your water distiller removes fluoride and I'm wrong, you go out to a restaurant, boom, fluoridated water was used to cook that food. Fluoridated water is being poured from a pitcher into your glass. It was used to make that Coca-Cola that you shouldn't drink, but you're drinking anyway, that's in that glass or a cup in front of you. The coffee, the tea, whatever it may be, the sauces in the food in the restaurant. The food itself, the produce, was washed in fluoridated water. They've really got us. It was a brilliant, brilliant scam to get rid of toxins, fluoride, and put it in the water. So these toxic substances are gone, but also at the same time, they essentially dumb people down, really, make them docile, like Barbie said. And it's amazing. It's brilliant. Hats off to them, just like NASA. Hats off to them for pulling the wool over our eyes. You got to respect that, wow, they pulled it off. But here we are, the flat earthers and other people who aren't flat earthers, but are awake to all these lies that we've been told about the food and the medical industry, people that hate flat earth, but still are on the right track on other things. We are all here and we're all saying, wake up, time to wake up, everyone. We have been lied to on a multitude of areas. So yeah, get rid of your fluoride toothpaste. At least it's a start. There are home systems that you can buy, and they're really expensive. If you're building a new house from scratch, and I know I haven't, you can get this system put in that will take the fluoride out, like a whole house system. Just imagine how dreamy that would be. You know, when you take a shower, your skin's your largest organ. I go take a shower, fluoridated water is going into my body. But if you have that kind of special house where you have it built so that all the fluoride is taken out because you have that device, you're set. And I think only, the elite have those, Hollywood stars, etc. The rest of us are being basically bathed in fluoride, unless you're lucky enough to live in a state in the US or a country that doesn't fluoridate the water. And every state I've ever lived in, as far as I know, has fluoridated water. So what a shame. Nathan, what about in the UK? Certain places fluoridated, some aren't?
Yeah, you can actually check. You can go online and see which water providers fluoridate their water and which don't. So you can actually get a gauge of who is and who isn't. But like you say, some do, some don't, and it changes. Right. So I don't know at the moment whether or not mine is or isn't fluoridated. I don't drink a great deal of water from the tap anyway.
Right.
But one thing that Zoe Scribner, Be Here in Love, said when we spoke was that the plastic bottles
Oh,
They're on a container ship, they're being heated up, they're being cooled down, and the plastic itself leaches sort of cancerous horribleness into the water.
yes. BPA and a lot of things that you purchase, plastic bottles or plastic, like what we call in America, Tupperware containers, where you put your leftover food and put it in the fridge. They say BPA free. A lot of canned food is lined with a plasticky coating. And ever since the BPA thing came out and everyone got very scared of it, things got labeled BPA free, stamped right on the can, right on the label. But studies have shown that they still leach BPA into the product. So the best thing you can ever do is just not use anything plastic at all. And you can go insane trying to rid plastic from your life. I mean, I bought a glass pitcher to use to put my distilled water in, which, yeah, okay, it's got fluoride in it, but at least it's distilled and other bad things aren't in it. And when I got the pitcher, it had a lid on it. I was very excited. I opened it. Oh, what a beautiful pitcher. And then there was a lid and I pulled it out. The underside's coated in plastic. And I was there trying to pry it off the stainless steel lid and thought, why didn't they put it in the description that this is not 100% glass and stainless steel? No, it's got plastic on it. Plastic's everywhere, and plastic is pretty amazing. It does a lot of things. But when it comes to putting it near anything that's going into your body, I would avoid it. And what about babies who are fed with, I'm not really sure, a plastic bottle? I think it is a plastic bottle, unless you can feed a baby with a glass bottle. Maybe, I don't know, because I've not had a baby. So, but, and I don't know if the nipple on the bottle is rubber or what that contains. I really don't know. Of course, if you're breastfeeding, you're fine. But are you? If you're drinking tap water, they've got us, they've got us right where they want us.
This sort of follows on into food when you go to the supermarket, because if you've got nice calcified pineal gland and then you see all of the subliminal messaging and the symbolism that's down every aisle, you get, you kind of go into a trance-like states when you shop. It doesn't matter which shop it is either. It doesn't have to be necessarily food. It could be anything. But as we're specifically talking about food, you are led. I almost feel like I have amnesia when I walk into a supermarket. You've got a list clear in your mind about what you want when you walk in. And the second you walk in, it kind of vanishes. I don't know what it is, the coffee shop or the flowers or what it is. Suddenly your mind's taken over and you just see shining lights and labels.
Yes. And they put all the good stuff, meaning the expensive stuff with lots of packaging materials and horrible ingredients, on what they call the end caps in most grocery stores. Things that are maybe junk food items or trendy items, they're right on the end cap, and that is what you see. You have to really be a conscious as in a way, not mesmerized shopper when you go to the store, with the determination and maybe a list to get good things, to read labels, I just recently got contact lenses, and you know what? They're probably made of plastic, and I've got BPA in my eyes right now. I'm gonna have to look into that. So you can't win. But I would go to a store before I got contacts and forget my glasses, and then I'd be in there and trying to read labels and squinting to see what was in there. And I've actually accidentally bought items that had, since I'm vegan, eggs in them before, or something in the fine print, dairy. And maybe you're not vegan, but you're trying to avoid maybe eating, fill in the blank. You don't want to eat too much dairy, let's say, even if you're a vegetarian and you do eat dairy sometimes. The labels in the States are written so that the number one ingredient in the ingredients list should be listed first. But they do this weird thing where they break it into paragraphs. So if your eyesight's not that good and they print it very small, you might look at the second paragraph or the first paragraph, not both paragraphs of ingredients, and miss out on something. So you almost have to be a detective when you go shop, or grow your own food. 100% from scratch. And I know there's a lot of people in the flat earth world who do have gardens and do that. There's a very few people who actually grow everything they need. And, they have their whole home powered by wind or something really amazing like that. But most people are living in the matrix. Here I am in a house, in a city with a computer and that sort of thing. But you have to do what you can, and read labels and try to buy things with only 2 or 3 ingredients. If you're buying something packaged, then make sure you understand what those ingredients are, meaning nothing with a long chemical name, nothing that says GMO on it, of course, obviously, and try to get things that say organic. And even the organic thing is kind of a lie, because it'll say on a label, made with organic ingredients. And you're like, oh, awesome, I'm going to buy this. And then you look and there's 3 organic ingredients, but then there's 10 ingredients that are non-organic. So they trick you with the labels, and they do it on purpose to sell you stuff that you don't need and your body doesn't want. So you have to be Inspector Clouseau, and you need a magnifying glass, or, you need to really concentrate when you go into the stores.
I mean, you mentioned about growing your own food, and that was something that maybe 50 years ago here in the UK, people had allotments. People would grow their own food, and they probably had the healthiest diet ever because they just grew their own fruit and vegetables in the sunshine and ate them. And that's the best thing you can possibly do. Now, you say about them not being organic food, and you're probably right. There's plenty of fruit and vegetables on the supermarket shelves, but they have their issues as well. I mean, you've got them being dusted with pesticides. They're being grown with Monsanto seeds. What was it that Morgal phrased it? Roundup ready.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. You think you're buying just a brilliant diet. I'm buying some broccoli, but then you find out no, it's the cheap broccoli, and it's been grown with horrible modified seeds.
Yeah, and even in general, the whole Monsanto thing, the whole scam where farmers can't keep and store their own seeds. They have to use Monsanto seeds. And then, of course, the way the world is, the wind blows, and the Monsanto seeds blow from farmer A, who's using Monsanto products and Roundup, to farmer B's plot of land. And then he's got Monsanto seeds in there. And, eventually it doesn't seem like there'll ever be able to be any organic items, because of the way it's all been constructed by that company. That company is evil. And the people who work there that are just regular people working, sorting seeds and filling out forms, and, just the people who work in office, they're not evil. But the people higher up, kind of like it is with NASA, kind of like it is with the world governments, it's the people high up who know what they're doing, who are the ones who are acting without concern for their fellow man. And you wonder, number one, how they sleep at night, and number two, do they eat Roundup ready fruits and vegetables? How do they protect their own children? Because the higher ups, they've got to know.
I was going to say, how do they sleep on a massive pile of money?
On a big bed of cash. Yeah. I guess a lot of people.
You grow your own fruit and veg, don't you, Barbie? You're on mute, by the way.
I have in the past. Last year I did not, because it requires a lot of time. But I did have a subscriber to my channel send me all these great seeds that are all like non-GMO. So I'm really excited about it. I'd like to plow up my whole backyard. But I'd like to get the community involved in it as well. There's just so many problems with that right now, with this law that they're trying to pass here. But on the organic note, I don't buy it anymore. I don't believe that you can buy organic. I think that ship has sailed already. We have a huge seed provider here where I live. They've actually been in business for many, many years, sending seeds all over the world. And they've been run out of business. I think they're doing some stuff, but I'm not really sure what they're doing there at this point. But if you go to the store and you're buying organic bananas, how do you know? How can you be sure? Just because they put a sticker on there that says organic doesn't mean that that's true. So I think you just have to do the best you can, because we live in this world where everything is It's controlled down to what you eat, and that's on purpose. And another point I'd like to make is that, you know, no country in the world can feed their own people. And I think they've done that on purpose as well. So everybody has to take something from somewhere else. And that's dangerous. It's really, really dangerous. When, especially, I mean, here in the US, we should be able to provide everything we need for everybody here. And we cannot do that. You have to wonder why we live in a system that allows that. And when I think about it and I look at things that have happened in the past, how quickly they will cut off food and water to people to gain control of them. Within days, people are complying. They're going, yes, yes. And that's the only reason I can see doing that. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's how I feel about it. You know, otherwise we would be growing stuff and providing everything we need for our people right here, and particularly doing it within communities. Each community is able to take care of itself, and that's not happening. There's a complete breakdown of the system there.
You said at the beginning it's difficult because of the law that's changed, and that's kind of what I was hoping to bring you on to.
Oh, right. So there's lots of people that, like, you see a lot of videos about these farmers who like have cows and they're getting milk from their cows and they're selling it to other people or whatever, or farmers growing corn and they're selling their corn to other people, and they're trying to stop that. I've watched quite a few videos where the police are actually rolling up on these people and pulling up their crops. So they're trying to impose this law that it will stop all that, and they're kind of basing it partially on like similar laws if you owned a restaurant, you know, and this is not safe for you to give food to someone else. And I actually wanted to do a community garden where I live, and that was part of the issue. They're saying, yeah, well, you can't really give this food to other people. What if it makes them sick? And what kind of world do we live in where you can't give somebody a basket of freaking vegetables without worrying about, you know, a law saying that's not safe? That's what they're up to here. And I think that's going to kind of trickle down everywhere. Because again, that's what I'm saying. I'm seeing this breakdown of the system, you know, where a country can't feed itself, a state can't feed itself, a community can't help people to feed themselves. It's dangerous.
Even a family can't feed itself. There's this guy in Missouri who grew a garden, but he couldn't do it in his backyard because he, like me, and in my new house, my backyard doesn't get that much sun. My front yard does, though. So my front yard is situated in the east and the back is in the west, but there's a lot of tall trees back there which shade it. So I can put some container plants back there eventually, but not a full-blown garden, which I thought I might when I moved, but it won't happen. But I can't put it in my front yard either. There was this guy in Missouri who grew a garden in his front yard because he had a similar problem to me. And he said that, you know, the neighbors were coming and picking things. It was beautiful. There's pictures of it online. And the authorities came and said, you've got 4 days to tear out your garden or face a hefty fine. And that's what happened. And why are they doing this? Are they doing this because it's an eyesore? Is a garden an eyesore? Okay, well, you've driven through neighborhoods and you've seen people with like a broken car up on blocks, rusted bicycles, you know, that's fine. I mean, to a point, they'll probably get you in trouble for that too. But so they've got a new ordinance, and it's really a witch hunt against people who are taking the food that they put into their body into their own hands. This guy was giving it away to people in the community. Nope, not having it. And growing it for his family, not having it, unless you do it in the backyard. Why? So it's hidden from people's eyes. So people can't think, oh, Joe across the street, wow, look at his pretty garden, I'm going to grow one too. It seems like it's about everything. It seems like it's a plot to control us.
Yeah, this is it. We've got to take it all back. Take back space, take back the land, take back our food. We've got to take it all back.
There's some song by Crosby, Stills and Nash, or Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, or Crosby and Stills, or plain old Crosby. It says, the line is, we've got to get back to the garden. And in a way, that's true. And I know that means the Garden of Eden. And whether or not you believe in a literal Garden of Eden or not, we've got to get back to that mindset where things are there because they grow from the earth. The earth is our home. We have a right to know the shape of the home we live on. And we have a right to what is produced by our home. This home was made for us. And becoming a flat earther, you realize that pretty darn quick, that the plants coming up are ours. I don't mean ours to abuse and such, but they're our food. We were put in a perfect environment to survive. But instead, the powers that should not be have made it so that they're going to be in charge of what we get to put into our bodies. And they're going to be the ones who put laws in place that we can't try to heal ourselves with herbs and other remedies that are natural because, you might get sick from that. But here, take these chemical drugs instead. And they're going to be the ones that tell us what our children can eat in the school system and what all of it, the vaccines. They're like our parent, in a way, a bad parent who doesn't really care for the child. And
Big Brother.
Yeah, exactly. Like Big Brother too. Yeah. And everybody who's not awakened, loves Big Brother, weirdly enough. You find people out there who, if you start talking to them about the pharmaceutical industry or anything else, or politics, they will defend NASA. They'll just defend it. And you want to walk away from the conversation when you're not making any headway and say, congratulations, you work for free for the New World Order. Awesome. But they won't understand what you're talking about. You can't do that. You have to use kindness, and you have to be rational, and you have to drop seeds, non-Monsanto seeds of knowledge, people's ways, and hope that they will pick up on them. Even if it's a year later, the bell starts ringing in the back of their head and they start seeing sense into what you're saying. But a lot of people are just lost, completely and utterly lost. Tomorrow, Sunday, February 5th, is the Super Bowl, or as I've always called it through the years, the Stupor Bowl. And it's in Houston, Texas, which is a shame for me because I better, leave after we're on the air and go out and head to the store and get the fruits and vegetables that I want and things, because tomorrow I won't be able to leave my house because it will be a madhouse of all the roads clogged up with vehicles and planes flying overhead with banners advertising the Super Bowl, and there's searchlights in the sky they've been testing out the past few days. And people's minds are on stupid entertainment. And maybe you love sports. I'm not putting you down for loving sports, but it's something that's mesmerizing us and draining away our energy, making us focus on useless things, these sorts of things like the Super Bowl, a big mega event with celebrity singers. And I, the other day, was out and someone said to me, "You getting ready for the Super Bowl?" They didn't know me, just sort of casual. And I said, "No, I don't really even know who's playing." And he said, "Come on." And I said, I don't know who's playing. And he started to tell me, and I said, "I don't want to know." Have fun though. I don't want to know. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade who does. But being part of these mass group events puts you into mass hypnosis. And that event will be filled with all sorts of horrible foods all around being advertised. And the show itself, it is a show. I didn't mean to say it was a Freudian slip, but the event itself, if you watch it on TV, lots of advertisements, none for anything healthy or mind expanding. So it's just more American garbage. And I know in the UK, it's the same thing. Same old thing, different sports. So what can you do? You can only help educate your own family and try to help your friends and help yourself as much as you can.
An interesting one when you talk about sports, I thought it was fascinating that you, Patricia, Validation Boy, and Jaren all like wrestling, and there's an accepted standard that it's not real, it's choreographed, but it's entertainment. And all three of you love wrestling, which I thought was quite crazy.
I know that Validation Boy loves it, and so does Jaren. Now, I loved it when I was maybe 9. And my sister and brother and I, for some weird reason, when we lived in Florida, we went to go see professional wrestling a few times, and we watched it on TV. I remember that and remember loving it and knowing it wasn't real. And I remember my favorite wrestler was Dusty Rhodes, but I was 9. And I also knew it was fake and it was entertainment. So I remember it well. And in speaking with Validation Boy, funnily enough, I was around for the quote unquote glory days of professional wrestling and didn't even know it. Since then, I haven't watched any of it. I don't really know what's going on. But yeah, it is funny that at one time in my life, I liked professional wrestling. Hey, at least I admit it.
I'm going to use that as a vague segue, because there was you talk about Big Brother and people just wanting to accept whatever Big Brother says, regardless. Big Brother's story is X, therefore X is the story. And Jaren had a wonderful moment. I don't know if it slipped many people by how much of a mention it got, but I think it was a plane crash. And Jaren said, "This looks like it's murder," after investigating it. And Reg Rhetoric ridiculed him and said, "How ridiculous." And then a couple of weeks later, it comes out that it's now a murder investigation. And that's the difference between somebody who accepts Big Brother's story, this is what it is, I will repeat it verbatim, and Jaren, somebody with good discernment, who looks at the information and judges it based on the evidence that's in front of you and uses discernment rather than just quoting Big Brother.
I was just looking at the chat of your show, Nathan, and Flat Earth Math, Charles is in there, who said the logo for Super Bowl says Super Bowl LI, and he says LI is the chemical symbol for lithium, which is pretty funny when you think about it, because, lithium will almost anesthetize your brain and it's calm you down, and you know what I'm talking about. It's Soma, I guess, if you want to talk about Brave New World in some way. And the Super Bowl is doing just that. People are thinking about it, talking about it. I drive through Houston and see big billboards about it. And look at what went on recently. That was the Potter's Clay put out a video that was mirrored by Bob of Globebusters, and many other people mirrored it. Talk about incredibly busted. It's the ISS. The astronauts were each wearing a jersey of the 2 teams, who I refuse to learn who they are, that are playing in the Super Bowl tomorrow. How could that be? And the Potter's Clay did some investigation to find out when the last shipment was sent up to the ISS. And they found a date, and it didn't correspond with knowing that those 2 teams would be at the Super Bowl. So what are they going to say, NASA? What are they going to be like? Well, we sent up 2 shirts for each team that could potentially be in the Super Bowl. What would be the weight of that? What would be the cost of that? I mean, we laughed when the gorilla suit was supposedly sent up there on the ISS. I mean, okay, number one, it's not up there and nothing was sent there. But if you want to believe it, why aren't people up in arms about the idea that these things were sent up there? Football and, these jerseys, and it's a joke. It's a joke on us.
We joke, you and I joke about this often, because it's the kind of ongoing NASA joke. So you've got a lie that's perpetrated. So in this instance, NASA tells you a lie about the jerseys and how they've got there. So you go, that doesn't make sense. Who should we ask about this lie? I know. Let's go and ask NASA. How did you get the jerseys up there in time, NASA? You're like, right. Oh, God, it's obviously a nonsense. You have to turn your back on them. Just ignore them. Don't ask them how they got them there. It's ludicrous.
Yeah. It's true. If you think anybody, the powers that should not be down to your next door neighbor is lying to you, well, you could ask them, I guess, initially. That doesn't seem right. what's the truth. But after that, do not consult them further on matters of truth, because they've proven themselves to be a liar. I don't understand why we would turn to a proven source of lies to try to get truth. And we do it time and time again. We're literally beating our head against the wall. But I do love videos that, you know, like the Potter's Clay one that was mirrored by Glowbusters and others, because it just shows it. And that's a great video as a teaching tool to show somebody who believes in NASA still. You can show them that. Now, it's not a really great scientific experiment showing, you know, the pole star or the sun across the plane. It's not that sort of thing. But it's something that points out the ridiculousness of these assumptions, that there is an ISS up there. And there's guys wearing football jerseys and girls with throwing a football in the air. I mean, how is that science, number one? Isn't the ISS, although based out of America, something that's across the globe? Why are they wearing football jerseys? Just the whole thing seems like it's very American-centric. And of course, we had Tim Peake up there as well, supposedly. It's just, the joke is on us and the elites or powers that should not be, however you want to call them. They are laughing at us because we are so easily controlled. And in a truth-seeking movement that we all are in, even we can be fooled by people who are lying, and by people who are cherry picking from people who have been proven liars, but yeah, we like some of their information, so they're still cool with us.
This kind of tags on to the conversation you and Mark Sargent had about an advisor that didn't quite make it to being a presidential advisor who didn't believe in the moon landings. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, yeah, well, yeah, that figures. You absolutely cannot have NASA being put in a position where they lose credibility. They must maintain credibility, because your average Joe Schmo, if he hears that they fake the moon landings, for the vast majority of normal people, they would have that standard. They would say, well, they've lost all credibility now. They must maintain that. So they're never going to confess to the moon landings being fake. Not on your Nelly.
Well, sometimes I think that they're doing a soft reveal because of stories that come out, like the one you're speaking of. And I'm not even sure if that's 100% true story. Sometimes we get these Onion magazine-like stories that come out that, you know, I remember one was saying Trump was a flat earther, and this was over a year ago. And it was like Trump was in a restaurant stumping, you know, for the presidency. And he was talking about the earth being flat while he was pouring syrup over pancakes. And I was thinking, wait a minute, pancakes, flat earth. So he's saying the earth is flat and eating pancakes. This is obviously a spoof. This is obviously a joke story. And they make fun of flat earth in these stories. And then they make people believe that flat earth is not true simply by putting those stories out. But I do think that there are sometimes stories that do get through that really are true. Maybe they are doing a soft reveal. I mean, someday, isn't the truth going to come out about NASA? Or are we going to just continually have this world in which we live now, where a small group of people know that NASA's lying? They know the shape of the earth is not what we've been told. And we're always revealing it over and over and over again. We're doing it with interviews. We're doing it with songs. We're doing it with comedy. We're doing it with art. We're doing it with fill in the blank. But the powers that should not be just say, push away those people and their stupid comments and thoughts. We're just going to keep on saying the same story over and over and over, and most of the public will believe it. Think it's ever going to be revealed, Nathan?
I put a worse theory across in one of my video logs recently, which is that we're here to be ridiculed, i.e. we're in this small corner of the internet. No matter how right we are, we all know we get a lot of vitriol in our comments. I'm sure Barbie will agree. I'm sure you agree. We get lots of hatred. Maybe that's our purpose. Maybe, you know, we can say it's flat till we're blue in the face. We can provide all the proofs, but that psychopathic system will continue to build itself upon lies. The web will only get bigger and bigger. I believe that this is a double-edged sword. So 12 months ago, when I had a conversation with Joe, and I said, look, you're making a difference. Things you do make there's direct consequence to words and actions that you do on YouTube. Things change as a result. And 12 months ago, Jaron wouldn't have it. No, I'm just a small YouTuber. 12 months down the line, he's pointing out that he's making changes. You know, they've narrowed the time frame that you can look at Polaris. It's a very direct correlation between things he has pointed out and things having changes made. Now you can go, wow, that's wonderful, we're making all the difference. On the other hand, you could view it that we are in this small corner so that we can turf out all the little cracks, all the little bullshit nonsense out of the heliocentric system, just so they can smooth it over with a bit of concrete, you know, put another layer of heliocentric bullshit on top, give people another plausible explanation for anything that we come up with. Well, you know, every time we look into any heliocentric nonsense, we see a long cascade of explanations that get slightly less and less and less elaborate as time goes backwards. So when you go forwards in time, you end up with more elaborate explanations for things, bullshit on top of bullshit on top of bullshit. And in my humble opinion, that's doomed to failure. Lies can only get so big, the web can only get so large, and they won't ever disclose that they've lied. Therefore, they will continue to lie, and that lie will eventually collapse in on itself. In my opinion, I think we're at the start of that. You've got people like John Le Bon who scoff at that and say, oh, we're going to reach critical mass, and quote, paraphrase people who 12 months ago believed flat Earth would get enormous massively quickly. Now, I necessarily didn't think that myself, but there's plenty of people who may have thought it and feel foolish now. I think that inevitably the lie system will collapse. It won't be that we as flat earthers reach critical mass and get our truth out to people. The system that they're building up, and if I'm right, and the lies that we're turfing out and highlighting are being smeared over with more lies, that will eventually, as a lie system, collapse within itself, and that will be the end of the system, as opposed to anything futile that us mere flat earthers on our tiny corner of YouTube can do.
I hope so. I hope that the evildoers will be revealed and the system will collapse in on itself. But through experience in life, I've noticed that people who do bad things just end up getting more powerful, more rich, and more respect. And the people who've had the bad things done to them just keep getting crushed underfoot. And I'm not looking at life in a negative way. I'm just looking at from personal experience. But there's the part of me that believes in, some would call it karma, believes in that goodness will always prevail. And that in the end, those who are doing these things to us will get their comeuppance. And the psychopathic system and the psychopaths within will all fall by the wayside. I hope that's the case, or is that just a fantasy, you know, at the very last moment as they're losing their position or they're losing their friends or family, will they say to themselves, oh, I shouldn't have fill in the blank? Or will they be sleeping soundly on a large pile of money, as you had said earlier, Nathan?
No, maybe we haven't heard much from Barbie for a while. What do you think, Barbie? Do you think it will collapse in on itself from within? Do you think it's a psychopathic system at all? Do you think it's based on lies that everyone will eventually find out? What say you?
Yeah, I think it's a bunch of nutters definitely running things, but I don't know that it will collapse on itself. I think we have allowed a lot of this stuff, you know, just like this whole voting for president thing here. I don't vote because I know that it's ridiculous. But if I did, and when I did, it's my job to make sure these people are doing their jobs. But when powerful people put all of this other weight on just normal folks like our shoulder, it divides people into so many groups that no one thinks that there's a bigger group. I personally think it's going to take a bigger group, you know, maybe pitchforks in the street, but people have to get brave, and they need to, you know, start doing something about it, because these kind of lies have been going on for a very, very, very long time. If you look back in history for what we know is maybe truth, this is not new news. This is something that's been going on a long time. And we just kind of follow along with it. That's probably the mistake. I mean, I feel like that's the mistake. I know that's the mistake I make. and thinking that the way I feel or the power that I have to make change doesn't matter. You know, and when you get millions of people who think that that power to make change doesn't matter, then there's a problem. And there's the kitty cats. Don't let my dogs see those guys. But that's kind of what's being pressed on us now. You know, if you think about all these things that are happening to keep people down, then you don't want to organize, you know, because everybody's got their own problems. And I just think people need to organize. And again, I'm going to mention community. I think this kind of stuff starts in communities, you know, and builds out from there. But people are scared. They're scared they'll lose their food. They're scared they'll lose their power. They're scared they'll lose their vehicle. And those are legitimate fears. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, are you going to lose that anyway? You know what? If we haven't learned anything from history, we should have learned that much. That everything can be taken from you at the drop of a dime anyway. That's the brilliance of what these people are doing. You know, sometimes I have to stand back and go, wow.
Yeah.
You know, just, and I know that sounds terrible, but it's like, wow. You know, because it works on the most simple, basic human needs. Fear is a powerful thing. When you're afraid you can't feed your family, and all these things, comfort is used as a tool, in my opinion. It's absolutely something that is given to you, all these great things. And, oh, if you don't behave, I'm going to snatch it all back. And that's a tough reality for people, you know, and kind of works into what I was saying earlier about countries not being able to feed their own people. You know, we've sat back and allowed this to happen. Imagine if everybody took to the streets and said, yeah, we're done. How quickly could you sweep across this world and get rid of these bad guys?
Well, I don't.
I'm not promoting a revolution, but
that's where I have to disagree. Because oh, should put you on mute. We're getting a bit of feedback. While you're right, we could all band together, but there's a whole group of flat earthers out there that are saying to people, we should band together, rise up, go and with pitchforks and all down to the TV station, down to the White House, down to number 10. And I completely disagree with that. Yes, we should definitely exercise a sense of community amongst our peers. Yes, we should set good examples. But in terms of going out with pitchforks, definitely not. I believe that you've got the power of one. That's it. You can only take charge for this. That's about all you can really take responsibility for. You can't lead a horse. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Therefore, what can you do with the power of one? Well, you're right. Fear is their greatest control. And how do they retain that fear? Well, they retain it through your engagement with them. Well, you can exercise your ability to disassociate yourself, not with all of the systems. Like you say, we still need to drive a car. You know, we still need electricity. There are certain systems you simply can't disconnect from in a literal way. But there are systems that you can say, no, I want no part of that system any longer. The one I'm beating a drum for at the moment is television. It's the easiest system in the world to walk away from. Click. No more television. And that psychopathic control system is completely out of your life forever. You never have to turn it back on again. Therefore, you never have to listen to the poison of the news. You never have to witness the lies that they're telling, the false flags, none of it. You don't have to associate with it. And then you're some might say ignorance, and you're blissful ignorance by not watching. But if it's all lies, if you've established firmly that it's complete nonsense, why bother associating with it? Some people would say, so I can point out that it's lies. Why? Just set an example. Stand back and go, no, no longer want a part of that. I say the same thing with NASA, and it's difficult in this arena because there's lots of people that want to point at NASA and go, look, they're lying. I'm done with NASA. You know, peaches and speeches, right on. Done. No more. Thank you very much. It was fun while it lasted. I no longer want any association with you. I'm not going to stand around and point at you. I'm not going to point out that you're lying, because I've got no longer got any interest. So thank you. I'm out.
It's kind of like when somebody is doing a lot of videos that are hateful, you can unsubscribe. And weirdly enough, you never really remember that they exist anymore. And you say to yourself, out of the blue, one day it'll happen. I'll just use the name Susie. Okay. Somebody named Susie making lots of hateful videos, or videos that you don't like, or videos that you don't believe the content. So you decide, you know what, Susie's not for me right now. I'm going to unsubscribe. There'll be a time when you have Susie cross your mind and you'll think, wow, it's sort of weird how Susie's disappeared from YouTube. And you go find the channel and you realize Susie's made 100 videos. And you might like the new content Susie's providing and subscribe again, or you might stay unsubscribed. But it's pretty interesting how Susie's disappeared from your worldview the minute you unsubscribe and hit that button that's on YouTube that says, I think, not interested in that sort of content anymore. And that's what we're doing with television. We're kind of really just hitting the button that says unsubscribe. I mean, I have a big, nice flat screen here, but it's not hooked up to any internet. I mean, any cable or anything like that, any television. I can't watch the news. I can't watch sports. I can't watch soap operas or reality shows. I don't want to. And where I've lived before, I haven't had that hooked up. I own DVDs that I purchased. A lot of them are foreign films or art house films, and then some classic American stupid comedies. No professional wrestling, though. Anyway, I have those that I will watch at my leisure. And I know there's programming in those too. But, at least there's not commercials. And I'm hopefully fortified with enough knowledge and inner fortitude that when the programming comes along, I can point at it and laugh and say, oh, yeah, I'm watching this movie about space and there's no space, but this is entertaining. I'll suspend my disbelief for this moment. But most people aren't in enough of an enlightened sounds elitist, awake situation to be able to even think of doing that. I know that I get in friends' cars and we go somewhere and they've got the radio on, some kind of talk, Rush Limbaugh or something here in America, but many might be familiar with him in other countries. Or you go to someone's house and they're like, hey, come on in. We're just making dinner. Have a seat, grab a drink. And you hear the TV's on and you hear like some blah, blah, blah talking or commercials playing. And it's on during the dinner too. And it's just right there. And it's hard to not stare at it. There's something mesmerizing about it. I guess because of the visual image there, the flicker rate, and you're drawn to the bright and shiny colors and like a handsome man or a pretty girl or a fluffy dog or something, you're drawn in. And you have to say, wait a minute, I'm at a party with real life people and I'm fixated on the television. That's horrible. But more horrible is the fact that they've got the TV on. A lot of people come home and just flip it on as a companion. I'd rather have YouTube as my companion if I'm alone and need information, because at least I can pick and choose and avoid, because I've unsubscribed, the stuff that doesn't serve me. I only want things around me that serve me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I did the same thing with recently with Jesse Spots. So I initially got very angry with him about the Mandela effect, and then found myself triggered, getting angry, writing horrible vitriolic comments to Jesse Spots. And you think, what am I doing? I don't need this in my life. Click. And then he was gone. And then sure enough, a couple of months later, I can't remember what the video came up, but a suggestion for Jesse Spots. And I was like, that really interests me. Mm-hmm. Clicked on it. Wonderful. I think it was something about LIGO. And I thought, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Yes, please, Jesse. More of the same. And perfect. I didn't have to get into any arguments with him. I didn't have to get any fights. Wonderful. Just he was gone. Lads. Goodbye. If you're watching, Jesse, I'm really sorry. I love you. You're wonderful.
I was a big Jesse Spots fan at one time, and then something happened to him, and he no longer would be associated with me based on things he believed that weren't true. But he has a right to live in whatever reality he wishes to construct for himself, and I will allow him to do that because I can't stop him. But people who are doing that often put out amazing content, and I will resubscribe because it's like a, hey, thumbs up in a way. Thumbs up. I like what you're doing now. And I don't control YouTube. I can only control what of YouTube gets into my brain. And I do that pretty well. Got to be discerning.
Before we round out, was there anything that you wanted to maybe plug or anything, Barbie? I know you've got Brave New World coming up. Patricia will get to that in a sec. You're still on mute.
And you're in the dark, Barbie. Can you turn on a light? Because you actually just look like a silhouette. You might not even be you, or you might be in the witness protection program.
It's like the only light I got to get to a certain time here, and it's really difficult to see. And I was going to do this in my kitchen, but my sinks got plugged up earlier. And so I couldn't take care of stuff in there. And I was like, oh, this is great for this to happen today, because I don't want you to see all this shite on my counter. So I'm kind of sitting in the dark here.
A big plunger and a wrench.
Yeah. But no, I don't really have a ton to add. I just think, you know, there's several ways you can combat this stuff. Like, you can turn your back on the system, but they make it really, really difficult. Although I do tell people when they complain about a certain store or whatever, you know, you go in there every other day and you come out of the store and you're about how terrible it is. The best way to hurt the system is by taking your money away from the system. And I know, again, that that's really, really difficult, but it can be done, because many times we all have way more than we need. I have enough to share with people. It's just the way I feel about it. And I don't have a ton, but what I have is enough for a couple people. And until we get back to this mentality where we understand the basic needs, what we really need to survive, we're going to have problems. We're going to have problems with being controlled. You know, people don't do things with their hands anymore. They don't want to build stuff with their hands. You don't hear about these normal farmer guys anymore. It's just, everything is kind of disappearing. All the basic skills that really built these countries. And that's a problem. And therefore, your dollar is going all over the place, in places that it probably shouldn't. You know, and that's the best way to hurt these corporations and companies, is by taking that dollar away. I think that's something, you know, we have to really try to work on. You know, if I don't like what 7-Eleven is doing in their business, I'm not going to buy gas from them. It's that simple. I'm not going to do it. And sure, we need stuff, but then you have to ask yourself, how much do I really need? And do I really need this? Do I really need that? And these are things that it's hard for us as people to do. And the people that make all the money off of us, that are in these positions of power, they understand that. I mean, you know, you have to really think about that. They understand, you want these great sneakers, and you want this awesome TV for your house, and this awesome iPhone. And when truthfully, a community could build this phone, they could. You could open up a little factory right here in the town of Greenwood, South Carolina, and build this phone and sell it to people at a fair price. But we don't want to do that. That's what I mean about pitchforks in the street. I don't mean literally going out there with a pitchfork, but I mean organizing and being smarter. There's way more of us than there are these bad guys, or I guess, as we put it so often, they. I don't know. It's going to take some brave people. And it needs to happen. Something needs to happen. Not so much for, like, I look at it this way. I don't just think about myself. I think about what I leave behind. You know, when you have children and you realize they're going to have children and they're going to have children, then you have to kind of look at that responsibility and saying, you know, what can I do to ensure something better for them? Because progressively, this is just going to get worse. It's not going to get better. I don't see that happening. I don't see any real change. I see people getting greedier and meaner, and, you know, so yeah, that's it.
No, I think we're
It's just
kind of saying the same thing. I'm saying no contact ever again. You're saying vote with your feet, and it's kind of the same.
And I'm saying unsubscribe all the things you don't respect. And I don't mean YouTube. I mean, like Barbie was saying, the grocery store that you complain about, you can literally unsubscribe from them, meaning you just don't go shop there anymore. Unsubscribe from people in your life who aren't supporting the things that you value. If you have good values anyway. Yeah, no contact ever again with all this bad stuff. And is it going to be a mass awakening? No, it's gradual. And look at Nathan and Paula and their new baby, Eleanor. Before Flat Earth, I know that Nathan didn't know all the things he knows now, because none of us know all the things. None of us. We all have new ways of looking at the world, and not just NASA, about everything, about health and nutrition and the government and you name it. So Eleanor is going to have a much richer and more diverse way of looking at the world, because her parents are more awake and aware than they were before this Flat Earth journey. And all of us, whether we have children or not, are at least sowing the seeds of truth, waking people up. Maybe if you can wake up one person in your entire life, you've helped. So I agree with everything that Barbie said. And I do want to add that I'm so happy to even be talking with Barbie at all. She's an amazing person, and we have so much in common, a lot of similar beliefs, and just a real asset to YouTube community. And we weren't talking before due to circumstances that don't exist anymore. So it's a bright, new, shiny day. And, you know, I'm really happy to have Barbie in my life and all that she offers. So, you know.
I should at this stage probably give some clarity to the audience, because Barbie, Patricia and I, and Zoe and a couple of other people have been chatting for quite a while, you know, and we get on really well, which, as anybody who's watching this from the outside, for us, this seems kind of nonchalant, non-point now, but we know in the back of all our minds, everyone watching is going, is this going to break into a heated argument? Or not at all. We all get on really well, just so that's clear.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had some opinions about some stuff. But that's me. And if I have opinions in the future about stuff, people are going to hear about it, you know, but I'm not out to, like, bash heads with anybody, because I realize one thing: we can't all agree on everything. It's impossible. And for me to sit here and say everybody's going to agree with everything I say, that's ridiculous. You know, you just kind of, I say it in videos a lot, and I know to some people it sounds so corny, but, you know, shape yourself and your world beautiful. You know, look at yourself first and realize what you're made of before you tell other people what they're made of. And it's difficult. It's difficult because we're all gonna I do things at times or do things that we should not, but it's how you kind of pick yourself up from that and move on that maybe matters. You know, are you learning from it? I hope I am, because I know I'm an idiot a lot of the time. You know, I'm aware of that, and I guess that's why I kind of move through things a little easier, because I'm aware that I can be extremely stupid at times, but it doesn't bother me, because then I'm able to, like, get past it and do better things. But it's hard. It's hard, and I'm glad to talk to you guys too. I think everybody that's out there trying to talk about this is doing a service, and we need to kind of realize that. You know, that people are going to have different opinions and ideas and whatever, and you kind of just got to sit back and say, hey, they're brave enough to put themselves out there, and maybe not try to judge people so harshly. but it's difficult. Folks are going to do it. So, but you guys are awesome. So it's been great, you know?
I think it's necessary. I mean, I think not only necessary, inevitable. If you're going to make an omelette, you've got to break a few eggs, and everybody in the flat earth community has been thrown into that same bowl and being hit with the same egg whisk all at the same time. And there's going to be a bit of chaos initially. And I think it's kind of settling down. At the moment, it seems to be worse because we're in that time, we've talked about it earlier, about sad and people being a bit depressed at this time of year. And I'll say this, and I can see the comments, look at him smiling while he's talking about people being depressed. Yeah, whatever. You know, it's just one of those. I think it is going to peter off and people will start to chill out with each other a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. We shall see.
Well, if we will it by saying that this is what's going to happen, I think it'll create a momentum of positive energy and goodwill toward our fellow flat earthers and truth seekers, even if we're not flat earthers, because I know there's a few non-flat earthers in the chat right now who are cool enough to come into a flat earth chat, not to troll, but to enjoy the company of their fellow man and woman. And
I still call those flat earthers. I see Charles in there. I call him a flat earther. He's around the campfire. He's still here.
You're right. He is deeply involved in our community, more so than we are in the non-flat earth community, because I'm not going to ball earth channels and just chilling out. So Charles is really super cool. Gem Panda was also in the chat, also a really nice person, different belief systems than I have, but not liars. I think that they strongly believe in what they believe in, and hey, more power to them. Eventually,
I was going to round out, but because you've said that word, belief, I'm going to mention something that I possibly wasn't going to, but I'm going to, which is about Charles, because he dropped me a line specifically about that. And he said that the thing that frustrated him the most was that people accused him of lies. Now, I'd also talked about this, I can't remember on which show, but I think it was about Jed Skeptic Media. And at some stage, he had pointed out that his misinformation was intentional. In other words, he was putting out deliberate lies to, in his words, test the reaction. Now, at that point, that was when I unsubscribed from Jed and thought, no, this isn't you believing what you're saying, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. My only expectation is people, at least you believe your own bullshit. You know what I mean? Charles is a good example. Good on you. You believe your own bullshit, and that makes you a good guy by me. You're not out with any nefarious, malicious intent. You believe implicitly what you're telling us. And moreover, he's done tests, he's measured stuff, and that takes tenacity and deserves respect. And what Charles gets is abuse, because he's got gumption. He's standing by what he believes in. You know, I would say it's his truth, not my truth, but it seems outrageous that somebody who is genuine, they might not be correct, but they're authentic, maybe that's the wrong word, in what they're putting across. They're not trying to intentionally mislead anybody. Again, a video log a while back, I was saying about we are all shilling at some stage unintentionally. You know, we do it all day. When Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole was on one of his roundtables, they're all telling him about how real NASA is. Not one of them's a paid shill. Not one of them's being given a paycheck by NASA, but they're all shilling on behalf of NASA. So we all do it. It's inadvertent, but when it becomes malicious, that's a different story. And we in Flat Earth are all being accused of telling malicious lies. You're promoting Flat Earth. You're trying to promote nonsense, tell people intentionally this nonsense, therefore you're evil. It's like, no. Not at all. We are the same as Charles. We know what we know, and we're happy to put hand on heart. Charles is too. Therefore, that deserves nothing but, you know, discussion, respect, not vitriol, not hatred. That's unnecessary. You know, being accused of lies, lying intentionally, they're different things. I don't see Charles as a liar. Simple as that.
I agree.
It's a long pause, dramatic effect.
A pause long enough you could drive a truck through, or a lorry, depending upon where you live.
On that note, I'm thinking you'll give a quick plug to Brave New World before we round out the show.
Yeah,
Patricia.
I'm reading Brave New World. And it begins in, I don't know, 15 minutes or so from this time, which is February 4th, Saturday at, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 GMT. And it'll be maybe an hour to an hour and a half if the cats don't destroy everything while I'm reading. And I'm going to be doing it on successive Saturdays at the exact same time. So if you've joined this show not live and it's days later after it's recording, you can go look on a playlist I have on my channel where I have book readings, and you can catch up with Brave New World. I haven't read that book for a super long time, so for me it's going to be as if I'm reading it for the first time, with errors in grammar and everything, just as if you were reading it for the first time. And hope you join me for that on Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes.
Superb. And on that note, I'm going to say a massive thank you to Barbi McGill for being on Flat Earth United Kingdom. Thank you very much, Barbi.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And also a massive thank you to Patricia Steere. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on, Nathan. And thank you, Barbi.
And last but not least, a massive thank you to all of you in the live audience. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I've been Nathan Oakley. I will see you all in the next video.